Have you ever wondered why some men are unforgettable to women? Why their memory lingers in her mind, even years after he's gone? Why she might move on, meet someone new, even get married, but deep in her heart, there's still that one man she can never erase? Before we get into the answer, pause for a moment and think, wouldn't you like to be that kind of man? The man she remembers not because of material wealth, not because of smooth words, but because of how he made her feel, how he carried himself and the depth of his presence. If that thought excites you, then stay with me until the very end of this video, because today we're diving into 6 powerful things that women never forget about a man, guided by the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the insights of female psychology. Trust me, if you apply these, you will change the way women see you forever. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Stoic Glow, hit the like button to support the channel, and watch this video all the way through, because what I'm about to share could completely shift your love life and the way you connect with women. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher and emperor of Rome, lived centuries ago, but his wisdom is eternal. He taught that greatness is not about possessions or status, but about virtue, discipline, and presence. Ironically, these very principles make a man unforgettable in the eyes of women. Even today, female psychology reveals something fascinating. Women rarely remember the man who bought them the most gifts, or who tried too hard to impress. Instead, they remember the man who made them feel safe, seen, and deeply valued. So let's weave together Marcus Aurelius's timeless wisdom with modern female psychology and uncover these 6 traits that make a man unforgettable. 1. Unshakable calmness in chaos. Do you remember the last time you were in a heated argument with someone you loved? Maybe it was your girlfriend, your wife, or even someone you once cared for deeply. Think back for a moment, her voice rising, emotions running wild, words being thrown like fire, and there you were, standing in the middle of it. Now be honest with yourself, what did you do? Did you shout back? Did you try to win the argument? Or did you shut down completely, walking away in frustration? Here's the hard truth, most men do exactly that. They either explode or they retreat. But here's what women never forget: the man who can remain calm in the storm. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He wasn't talking about romance, but the principle applies perfectly to love. Because when she's emotional, when the world feels like it's crashing down, and you remain steady, calm and grounded, she feels something she will never forget: safe. Think about your own love story for a moment. Maybe you've been in a relationship where she tested your patience. Maybe she threw her doubts, her fears, even her insecurities at you. Most men would have folded. But imagine if instead of reacting, you just breathed, stayed composed, and spoke with clarity. That moment, it would have carved itself into her memory forever. Why? Because you became the anchor in her storm. Female psychology reveals something powerful. Women don't crave perfection in a man, but they crave security. They want to know that when their emotions spiral, when life feels chaotic, the man beside them won't crumble too. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine she's crying in your car at 2 a.m., telling you she feels like nothing in her life is working out. Most men would panic, rush to fix it, or even get annoyed. But you just sit there calm, hand on the steering wheel, voice steady, telling her, "It's okay, you're not alone in this. We'll figure it out." That moment of calm is not something she forgets. Not in a week, not in a year, sometimes not even in a lifetime. Because here's the thing, calmness is not weakness. Calmness is power. The man who controls himself controls the room. And when you master that, you don't just win the moment, you win her trust, her respect, and her lasting memory of you. So let me ask you again, when she remembers you years from now, what will she recall? The man who lost control, or the man who was so calm, so unshakable, that just being around him made her feel safe? Be that man. Be the calm in her storm, because women never forget him. 2. The power of presence. Have you ever been with someone you loved deeply, sitting right beside them but felt like they weren't really there? Maybe they were scrolling on their phone, nodding without listening, or staring past you as if their mind was somewhere else. Do you remember how that made you feel? Now flip the memory. Do you remember a time when someone gave you their full attention? When they looked you in the eyes and every word you said seemed to matter? That feeling, my friend, is unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Confine yourself to the present." He meant that true strength lies in living fully in the now, not trapped in yesterday, not chasing tomorrow, but right here, right now. And in love, this is everything. Women never forget the man who makes them feel like the only person in the room. Think back to your own love story. Maybe there was a night when she opened up about something painful from her past. Did you listen deeply without judgment, without distraction? Did you remember the small details weeks later? If you did, that moment has stayed with her. Because presence is rare, and what is rare becomes unforgettable. Female psychology shows us that women crave emotional connection more than material gestures. You could buy her roses, take her to fancy dinners, and shower her with gifts. But if your mind is elsewhere when she speaks, none of it matters. On the other hand, when you put your phone down, look her in the eye and truly listen, she feels valued, cherished, and safe. Imagine this, she's telling you about her childhood memory, something that shaped her, maybe even hurt her. Most men would zone out waiting for their turn to talk, or worse, interrupt with advice she didn't ask for. But you lean in, nod slowly, your silence saying, I hear you, I see you. That moment, she never forgets, because presence is the rarest gift you can give. Let's be real for a second. Think about the times in your own life when you weren't fully present with someone you cared about. Maybe she noticed you staring at the TV, or heard the flatness in your while she was pouring her heart out. Those small cracks leave marks, but when you give her presence, you do something extraordinary. You tell her without words, right now nothing else matters but you. And that's powerful. That makes her feel not just seen, but remembered. So I'll ask you again, when she looks back years from now, what will she recall? The man who was always distracted? Or the man who, in a noisy world, made her feel like she was the only one who mattered? Be that man. Because women never forget the power of presence. 3. The balance of strength and compassion. When she was at her most vulnerable, how did you respond? Did you harden up, acting like emotions didn't matter? Or did you soften so much that you lost your strength? Most men lean too far to one side. Some think being strong means being cold, distant, unmovable, like a stone wall. Others think being compassionate means being overly soft, agreeable and weak, like a doormat. But here's the truth women never forget. The man who can balance both. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful men in history. He led armies, ruled an empire, and carried the weight of Rome on his shoulders. Yet in his private writings, he reminded himself constantly to stay humble, kind, and compassionate. That duality, strength with softness, is exactly what women crave. And it's what etches a man into their memory forever. Think about your own love story. Maybe there was a time when life hit her hard. She came to you in tears, weighed down by stress or heartbreak. Now imagine if you had responded with harshness, telling her to just get over it. She would have felt alone. If you had responded by breaking down with her, she would have felt unsafe. But if you had held her steady and strong, while still speaking gently, you would have given her the balance she secretly longs for. Female psychology shows us something fascinating. Women are naturally drawn to men who can both protect and nurture. A man who has the backbone to stand firm against the world, but also the heart to hold her when she feels small. Picture this. You're walking with her late at night and someone disrespects her in public. You stand tall, firm, protective, your strength makes her feel secure. Later that same night, when she opens up about her fears, you don't brush her off, you listen. You reassure, you comfort. That combination, it leaves an imprint on her soul. Because strength without compassion feels cold. Compassion without strength feels fragile. But together, they create the kind of memory she never forgets. Ask yourself, what will she remember years from now? The man who never showed emotion, hiding behind a wall of toughness? Or the man who bent so much that he lost himself? No. She will remember the man who made her feel safe and cherished. The man who was strong enough to protect her, but gentle enough to love her. And here's the secret. This balance doesn't just make you unforgettable to her. It makes you unforgettable to yourself. Because deep down, every man wants to embody both the warrior and the healer. So be that man, the one who carries strength in his spine and compassion in his heart. Because women never forget him. 4. Living with purpose. Have you ever loved someone who inspired you just by the way they lived? Not because of what they bought you, not because of smooth words, but because every day they woke up with fire in their heart and direction in their soul. Now flip the question. In your own love story, what do you think she saw in you? Did she see a man drifting aimlessly, living only for Friday nights and temporary pleasures? Or did she see a man chasing something bigger, something meaningful, something that gave her the quiet certainty that you were going somewhere in life? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions, and women, whether they admit it openly or not, never forget the man who lived with purpose." Female psychology reveals something profound. Women are wired to be drawn to men who have direction. A man with purpose signals stability, certainty, and leadership. He's not a wanderer tossed by the wind. He's a builder, a creator, a man of vision. Think about it. Imagine you're with a woman you care for deeply. She watches the way you wake up early, the way you discipline yourself, the way you chase your goals, not because anyone is forcing you to, but because you're driven from within. She might not always say it, but inside she admires you. And that admiration, my friend, is unforgettable. Now remember this. Purpose doesn't always mean building a business empire or leading armies like Marcus Aurelius. It could be writing your first book, training your body, serving your family, or mastering a craft. What matters isn't the size of your mission. It's the clarity and consistency with which you pursue it. Picture this. She sees you sitting at your desk late at night, not wasting hours scrolling on your phone, but working on your dream, whether that's studying, creating, or building. She sees the discipline, the vision, the fire in your eyes. That image stays with her because it tells her one thing: you are not ordinary. On the flip side, think about how forgettable it is when a man has no direction, when he drifts, when he has no goals, when his life is an endless loop of wasting time. Women may stay with men like that for a while, but they never truly admire them. And without admiration, there is no lasting memory. So ask yourself this: when she looks back years from now, what will she remember? The man who wasted his days in distractions? Or the man who, even if he stumbled, always walked with purpose? Be the man with a mission, because women never forget the man who didn't just live for himself, but lived with meaning. 5. Emotional self-control. Let me ask you this. In your own love story, do you remember a time when emotions got the best of you? Maybe she said something that stung. Maybe she pulled away when you needed her most. Or maybe she tested your patience with silence or sharp words. Be honest. Did you stay calm, or did you react in ways you now regret? Most men do. We slam doors, raise voices, send angry texts, or go silent for days. And the truth is, those moments of emotional weakness leave scars. She might forgive, but she never forgets the way you lost control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." What did he mean? That the world, and yes, even the woman you love, will test you. But the true power lies not in controlling her, not in controlling circumstances, but in controlling yourself. Women never forget the man who has emotional self-control. Not the man who hides emotions, not the man who acts like he doesn't care, but the man who feels everything yet chooses his response wisely. Think back. Imagine a night when she was upset, throwing words at you that weren't fair. Most men would snap back, fueling the fire. But the man she remembers is the one who breathed deeply, stayed calm, and spoke with steady words. The man who didn't let anger lead, but reason. That moment, that memory, it carves itself into her heart. Female psychology tells us that women test a man's emotional stability, not to destroy him, but to feel him. To know if he's grounded enough to withstand life's storms. If your emotions swing wildly, anger today, jealousy tomorrow, despair the next, she feels unsafe. But if you master yourself, you become her anchor. Picture this. She pulls away suddenly, giving you silence. Most men would blow up her phone, beg for answers, or lash out in frustration. But you stay composed. You send one calm message, then give her space. You show her that her storm does not control your peace. That kind of emotional discipline, unforgettable. Because here's the truth. Women don't admire men who can fight every battle. They admire men who can master themselves. A man who can feel jealousy without acting recklessly. A man who can feel anger without breaking things. A man who can feel sadness without drowning in it. So let me ask you, when she remembers you years from now, what will stand out? The man who shouted, sulked, or begged? Or the man who held himself with such self-mastery that even in conflict, she felt safe? Be that man. The man of self-control. Because women never forget him. 6. Unapologetic authenticity. Have you ever looked back on a relationship and realized that at some point you stopped being you? Maybe you tried too hard to please her. Maybe you started hiding parts of yourself because you were afraid she wouldn't like them. Maybe you wore a mask just to keep her happy. Be honest, didn't that feel exhausting? Here's the truth. Women may enjoy the performance for a while, but they never truly respect it. They never remember the man who bent himself into someone else, but they always remember the man who stood firm in his truth, the man who was unapologetically authentic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop pretending, stop performing, stop trying to fit into someone else's mold, just be. And this, my friend, is unforgettable. Think about your own love story. Maybe there was a time when you said something raw, something real, your honest opinion, your true feelings, and instead of pushing her away, it drew her closer. Why? Because authenticity is magnetic. When you're real, she feels free to be real too, and that creates a bond no mask can ever replace. Female psychology shows us that women have an incredible radar for fake behavior. They can sense when you're saying what you think they want to hear, when you're acting like someone you're not. They may tolerate it for a while, but deep down they don't admire it. What they never forget is the man who wasn't afraid to stand alone in his truth, even if it meant disagreement. Picture this. She asks your opinion about something important, something controversial. Most men would just nod and agree to avoid conflict, but you speak your truth calmly, without fear, without arrogance, just honesty. She may argue with you, she may challenge you, but inside she respects you, because you showed her the courage of authenticity. Now think about the other side. How many men lose themselves completely in relationships, changing their hobbies, their opinions, even their values, just to keep a woman happy? At first, she may enjoy the control, but years later, do you know what she remembers? Not admiration, not respect, just weakness. But the man who stood tall in who he was, the man who pursued his passions, spoke his truth, lived by his values, he leaves an imprint. Because authenticity is freedom, and freedom is unforgettable. So I'll ask you directly, when she remembers you years from now, will you be the man who hid behind a mask? Or will you be the man she admired for being real, raw and unapologetically himself? Be that man, because women never forget authenticity. Closing reflection. These are not tricks, not games, not manipulations. These are the timeless qualities that make a man unforgettable. Women don't remember the flashiest man. They remember the man who embodied these principles,